Ignore that. I'm mixing with my computer. Sorry about that.
The recording starts. Recording in progress. All right, we'll get the meeting started. Good evening, everyone. It's Thursday, November 2nd. It's Community Board 17th Land Use Committee. My name is Kwame Afray, and I'm the chair of the committee. And we'll start the evening with the chairperson's report. A couple of things to go over. We have just in informational news with our 25th district, historic district, officially got their certification from the National Park Service. It designates all the people who own that property or own anything on the block to be able to access rehabilitation tax program credits, which gives you or gives them up to 20% of their tax repairs. So on top of, having their block protected, there is a tax incentive on doing repairs, whether it is considered a store. Congratulations to them. On top of that, I believe Dr. Renaud said that they were the greenest block in Brooklyn. So 2 accolades in a short period, just to be on October 24th. October 24th, I attended the Shirley Chisholm Recreation Center. I actually visited the center, which is adjacent to where this actual meeting was held, which was more or less just a update on revised construction timelines, which is now extended to 2025. Outwardly speaking about the art exhibit and how how the artist that was voted is now having a residency, and she'll be in contact with the community board to engage with the community and various businesses in the area for the finalized art exhibit that's going to be there, and that they plan this quarter to engage with the prime contractors at a Meet the Primes Summit and also begin the community involvement for work-based development. No specific dates were given. It was just told that it would happen before quarter's end. So as those updates come in, I'll update anyone who's interested in the normal forums via WhatsApp and email as the data comes in. At our recent general board meeting, we were graced by Fred Baptiste, the chair of Community Board 9, shedding light on a letter that his community board generated and sent to the governor in regards to Vital Brooklyn, seeking transparency and dialogue regarding the project's potential impacts on the surrounding areas. He did make clear that although the board hasn't taken an official stance, that he is inquiring to be transparent and forthright with the development of the project and to open that dialogue. In addition, we are actively coordinating a joint venture with Community Board 9 to organize a community forum. I think the last proposed location was at Kings County, where we have our general meetings now, but we're waiting for correspondence to come back to finalize that. Once that gets finalized, we'll be in communication, and that will address the Vital Brooklyn issue and our affected residents in regards to that. Last night, Ms. Fields, I don't forget, at the housing meeting. No, I was just speaking. Last night, at the housing meeting, even though the development doesn't fall specifically on our borders, again, similar to the Vital Brooklyn thing, will be affected by it. The Sears Roebuck Tower is being developed, right? It's been spoken about for a long time, but the information I was able to peel and pull was that the group is called Clipper Equity. They plan on erecting 2 residential towers, 450,000 square feet, offering a total of 650 units. One unit's going to have 351, the other unit's going to have 299. And the question came up on the actual Roebuck retail store itself, which is landmarked. That's correct. It has been landmarked, but over time, since 1932, according to the information received, Sears acquired 9 additional lots which we know as the Sears parking lot behind it. And I believe that the development, according to the information that's public, will be happening there. Where the parking lot resides is where these two towers will be erected. The time frame is ungiven, nothing, there's no information to say when it would actually start, but the communications via CAB chair saying that it's starting to begin. Some people said that they see some gates going around and some ongoing conversations about some housing things. They don't really fall within our district, but it was asked, so I decided to do some research and find out about it. So yes,
Okay.
the Roebuck Tower
Whatever you
itself.
want to do, you make up your mind and go ahead and do it. I'll back you. But we don't have to do this.
The Roebuck Tower itself is landmarked and possibly cannot be altered in its current form and will possibly be integrated into the development of the two residential towers that will follow. And lastly, Ms. James is going to bring up an initiative during new business about City of Yes. Are there any questions? Two. Ms. Martinez.
Good evening, everyone. I guess I wanted to find out about you said that the Sears Roebucks discussion was at the housing meeting?
There was just a question. Somebody just had a question about the development that's going on at Sears. It was directed towards me. Said I would address it tonight.
Okay. I do think, well, I guess what I wanted to know is what was happening with the what used to be the tire shop from Sears across the street, and whether or not there was going to be any. We should probably see if we could get some more information about the development in terms of if there's going to be any commercial space or anything else, or is it solely going to be a residential project or anything like that? And the fact that part of that parking lot is actually under the control of SBS. So whether or not they're maintaining it or if they're just going to end up selling the rest of that to the developer as well.
The only other information outside of the buildings that I didn't mention is that both buildings have unspecified community facilities. It's not saying how big they are or what they're going to actually be, but no, I'll follow up on the tire shop. It's probably included in one of the 9 lots, but because they're probably looking at the project in a vacuum, they're probably not specifically speaking of what's going to happen at the tire shop. See if I can reach out to some representatives. There's a lot of names on here. You know how these developments are. It's clouded through various ownership groups. So I'll see if I can find out what's happening. At this time, I don't have any information on it.
Oh, okay. Did you get some paperwork or something? Because I was
No,
like, oh, okay.
I was just reaching
Oh, okay.
as far as I could go with the public information.
All right, cool.
I didn't have anything solid. I might actually reach out to maybe the land use committee for that community board. Maybe they've been approached. But,
Thank you.
right. Ms. James?
Yes, thank you. So earlier this year, well, the summer, June, whatever, when the consultants who engaged to do the rezoning, the discussion was that portion that belongs to, that is in CB 17 could be used for green space. Because now it makes it even worse. You have 2 of the massive towers going up, right? With no green space. It's my understanding that the developers of that particular lot across the street are the same developers that own Flatbush Gardens. How on earth the city could cooperate in a venture that permits that particular landlord, right, to now create 2 buildings, given the state of Flatbush Gardens? That's incredible. At the right time, I would like to propose make a motion to say that we write to the city council person and put it on record right now, because what it is, we are in the dark. We don't know at this point of time whether title has been transferred to the portion of land that Allison just pointed out, that particular site, which is in CB 17. And I think it needs to be on the record right now that we are asking for that lot to be designated for the use of CB 17 as a green space or whatever space, but it's a community space. Because if we don't ask for it like almost immediately, somebody's going to think it's logical to give it to the developers across the street and they'll use it for whatever they want.
I think that I could look and see if it's not or hasn't been already transferred. What's the status of the actual lot as it stands? But
Because the boards are around it already.
around the tire shop.
The
Yeah, it's
green
been a while.
boards.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's been a while. Yeah, that would indicate that that ownership is passed. Yeah, yeah, I think writing a letter and requesting the green spaces forthright with to our council members. Is that the request? Did I hear that right? Just wanted to make sure I'm writing it down right.
Yeah, I mean, like, just ask the question, would there be, does anybody know, because I can check the address and see if we can find the address there and see what their issue is, but I know it belonged at least to the city. That particular piece of portion was owned by the city. And even not the whole thing of the whole project, in terms of, granting the Flatbush Gardens developer the right to develop there. I mean, to me, that's just abominable.
It's I'm just getting the address as we speak. I'll put it in the chat. Try to figure out is the land also landmarked? I don't know if the land.
No,
land-
it couldn't be the land, no.
Yeah, no, I don't think the land is actually landmarked itself. It's the tower. It's the actual retail tower. So that we all probably at some point went into. They wouldn't be able to alter that, but I would believe, without seeing any drawings, that they would somehow integrate the tower into the development in some way.
But not just our interest is across the street, not so much a tower, which is in CB 14.
You mean the tire shop was changed?
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
across the street,
The
yes.
tire shop.
Is there any, Ms. James, is there any permits issued for that property for demolition or anything thereof?
Do a search on permits and see over there. But the tire shop itself, you're talking about?
Yes. That's in CB 17, so it'd have to come to the office.
Right now is the Medicare annual enrollment period, 2024 Medicare. So everyone.
All right, sorry. I can't really see the screen. Are there any other questions? Mr. Tate, you acknowledge? George Tate?
Sorry, yeah, I was muted. Mhm. Yes, it's regarding the tower, the Sears Tower to serve as landmark. Isn't it that, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is if a building is landmark, they have to protect the facade, but they could still do something inside. So I was wondering if they're planning to create additional units in there as long as they leave the facade, intact. So therefore, they could be building 3 units and not 2. Follow?
Yeah, it wouldn't fall from the imagination that would be what they would try to do to maximize the amount of units.
Yeah.
In any information I found, that specific building isn't being discussed. But it would be challenging for them to even do that. You understand? They would have to still go to the Community Board 14, and very much like how our residents in our historic district, we mentioned this more in the beginning, would have to get approvals to do things. They would have to get approvals to do things, and it seems like the developers we are dealing with would try to avoid that at all costs.
Okay. Yeah, and I also noticed that the parking lot is split. Right, there's one side that I don't know who's using it as a parking lot, and they started digging on the other side. So they started working on part of the parking lot. The one closest to Tilden Avenue, that's intact, and I don't know who's actually using that as a parking lot, but it's fenced off.
It's probably the same developer, but they're probably only excavating one building at a time. If it's in fact started, they would never really do the two simultaneous. They would do one and then the other. So they probably decided to do the building closer to the tower first. I'm gonna pull the permits and see what's been approved there. It seems like it's a lot further along than I thought.
Okay, thank you.
But all right, Miss Bennett. Got a thumb. Bennett,
Can you hear me?
hear you now.
Yes, what I wanted to know was, are there any permits issued in CB 17? Because I didn't get a response to that last question for the old Sears Tire Shop. Since there are green boards going up, there must be something issued, so we should have got notice at the board office.
I didn't get any issues, anything issued permit wise.
Oh my goodness me. And I just to jump in here, the land was transferred. No, Beverly, sorry, never mind. No.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was looking at acres and it seems I'm not sure okay, I strike that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. No, because as Ms. James said, if it's the same developer as Flatbush Gardens, that's going to be an issue. Because they don't seem to be a good faith developer. And we need to keep an eye out, a diligent eye out, for what occurs or goes on. If it's in CB 14, but it is, as you say, on the border. But whatever they do on one side, they're going to try their best to do it on our side. And I'm looking at James on this one. We do need green spaces in that area. There aren't enough. And that would be a perfect place. Small, but yes. Definitely.
Sorry if I'm looking.
You got me?
Yeah, I heard you. You broke up at the last.
I agree with the green space. There aren't any in the area, not really. Not on that side. Even if it's a small children's park, would be perfect. Would be lovely.
All right, so I do. Sorry, I'm just reviewing the permits. I'm just trying to make sure I give the appropriate information. There's a permit filed on the 23rd or May 17th. That's funny enough. That's my birthday. Mechanical means submitted for use of mechanical equipment at the time. That's probably bring an excavator on site. There's another permit which was actually disapproved. Builder's pavement plan filed in conjunction with NB, which I would have to dive in. But whatever that was the case, it was for a welder and that wasn't approved. So it looks like they're in the beginning stages. All permits prior to that were in 2015, which was the demolition of the building that was there, you know. And just reworking of the interior space, probably just getting it prepared for said demolition. And underground gallon tank at some point. But yeah, it seems like this year they're starting to at least file at least 2 permits within our calendar year. 3 actually. 1 2 weeks ago, which wasn't approved for some modification of the pavement some way. Sorry, I'm just doing this on the fly. Yeah, so it's starting to get active. Whatever's happening over there is active. They're actively trying to either prep the land or start building whatever their plans were. But according to this, it doesn't appear like any official plans were submitted to the Department of Buildings as of yet. Several actions on the property, but you know, it's a history from the time the property existed in 1907. Nothing currently in the 2000s or in the 2020s. Cool. Allison, your hand's raised again.
Yes, I want to say 2 things. One, just like we did with Vital Brooklyn, I think we should reach out to 14 Um, just, I'm not saying obviously it's not the same community board, but I'm saying that we should reach out to 14 and get involved with the community engagement piece that I would assume that Clipper Equity is starting to do, so that we are, even though we don't have a vote, we could at least be involved in some of the planning or discussions. And the other thing is that we do have some back, I'm going to say probably 2018, 2019, we had a student studio that contemplated some uses of that property that may yield some interesting potential projects. I do remember at one point, one of the student projects, at least for the tire shop, was for the creation of like a biofuel lab, like teaching lab for students or something like that. So we may be able to at least provide some potential interesting things for them to bring to the table for people to consider as options. I just have to like look and see where those projects were, but we should try to see if we can get involved.
Sorry, I've seen the document search. Get to it. So yeah, yes, I'm definitely going to reach out to Community Board 14 in regards to this to see. I think it's a safe assumption to say that they have been engaged because they're directly affected. And we'll see how far it is and whatever information they can share with us, and then I'll actually be included moving forward. Anything that's happening over there.
Also,
All we know, they may have been submitted or given plans, much like our 98th Street developments that has ideas for whatever they were proposing for the tire shop, including, you know.
true. Only because there may also be, they may be able to, depending on their capital stack, there could be set asides, and maybe we can negotiate where there could be affordable housing set asides for people who currently live in 17 as well as people who live in 14. Who knows?
You would hope, yeah. There's really, I wish that they would be more public with that type of information. But the only thing we could do now is ask, and hope that it was shared with them. And if it wasn't, maybe we could get communication to ask ourselves if they're not willing, you know. Well, we'll follow up. It gives us something to do, which leads into the next thing. Before I move on the agenda, we have to discuss what we are planning to do as our initiatives. We already have two. We already have the Vital Brooklyn thing that's going on as that develops. And this looks like this will be a healthy thing for us to focus on for this fiscal year. If there's any other ideas that the group may have, use the parking lot. Yeah, the King's Theater does use the parking lot. And there's actually a homeless shelter. One of our cab members sent an email saying that there was some discussion about a homeless shelter or a men's veteran shelter, classified correctly, in the area, and the effects that that's having on the local areas over there. But yeah, we want to speak on our initiatives, what we want to look forward. I think we have two very, very important ones here. Does anybody else have any ideas, plans, maybe events, joint ventures that we could do? Mr. Price? You're muted, Mr. Price.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was evening. I was gonna ask, in somewhat ignorance because I've been in and out. What's happening with East 98th Street?
98th Street development. I think me and Chair James will say safely that it's still on the table. They just haven't moved forward with the actual idea. You know, correspondence goes out. They haven't responded. So, as far as I know, they're still on track. They just haven't met the point or have the need to come engage with us at this time, or are choosing not to. Several requests have gone out for them to join us, and it hasn't been met, you know, openly.
And did we ever hear back from Councilmember Mealy?
Ms. Mealy's office did not respond. Chair James actually reminded me multiple times, and the closest correspondence was the newly appointed her chief of staff, and several correspondence has gone to the chief of staff with no response. So
Okay,
a-
so not a priority for this.
it's a monthly thing. It's a monthly thing we do, call, but if in fact Mr. Goldstein and his team want to actually develop what was proposed to us, I don't think that there's a way that they can get around dealing with us. But if they're not willing to deal with us at this time, they'll have to deal with us eventually. So I'm maintaining optimism there to hope that there's not a workaround, but ultimately it's his development. When he needs to, I'm sure he'll be here and his team will be here to engage with us and discuss it further.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, can I, sorry, did you recognize me? Go ahead, Sarah. Can I go ahead? Yeah, Mr. Price, Joe, afraid if I may address Mr. Price, I believe you are in Miss Council Member Mealy's office in the district, right? Mr. Price. I was going to ask up on the floor whether or not, are you in district Council Mealy's office?
I'm in her.
Yeah. We have not been able to establish any rapport with the office. And I know you're a very diplomatic person, so I'm just throwing it out there. If perhaps you would feel, if you do feel comfortable, you don't feel comfortable, whatever. But you may, if you think you can make inroads in establishing a relationship, that would be wonderful.
Can't hurt to try, I guess. I don't know where you got this idea about my diplomacy, though.
I'm sure you can handle yourself, otherwise I wouldn't have suggested it.
Everybody's watching at all times, Mr. Price. Got eyes everywhere. Didn't know. Yeah, well, I agree. I agree, Ms. Bennett. I've been annoyingly trying to get them to even engage. And you got to realize that we have the idea and concept, and we're trying to be forthright just to see whatever communications they have. We can't even get them to respond to being forthright, which is a shame, to be honest.
In other words, she doesn't return your calls.
Yeah, it's a shame because you got to remember that the history of this is not only has it been correspondence during our executive retreat this last summer, she was approached in person. I actually handed her my phone and made her read the letter. So for us to be here at this point it's shameful, to be honest. It's shameful, but
I met her several times, and if I get a chance, I'm going to help her.
yeah, I did it. I shook it down in person.
I know.
But all we're trying to have is dialogue and communication, and that seems to be quite difficult for that particular office at this time. But
well, I'm in her office since I'm in her district.
That
Allison,
makes sense then.
Allison,
Well, just to what you originally asked, I think that the land use committee should work with the rezoning committee to do some community forums on zoning and the proposed draft report, the report. I also think that the land use committee should be doing a education campaign around the city of Yes.
yes, we're going to be speaking about the city of Yes. We'll speak further about that for sure to see how it affects the community. I reached out to DCP. Hopefully we could get them there, but yeah, these are good things. So the rezoning, when you're speaking about rezoning, you're speaking about the current draft that's in place. I do think it needs more time. We need more time, probably more than both of our meetings, to address the issue. But at this time, we have to understand as the land use committee that any official thing would just be recommendations that would go with Ms. James to her meeting where you would actually be able to vote and finalize it. As long as Chair James is good with it, I don't mind allocating any time here. I know a lot of experienced people are here, and I think it would be beneficial to both parties, especially moving forward, to make sure that we have enough eyes and enough time before we actually do the final submittal.
I just I just think we have to do a lot more training to just people who are not coming to either of these meetings because they sit in their rooms hearing people yelling back and forth R4, R6,
Yeah.
and don't have any, context. There's no level setting going on. So we have to do that so that they could then even be at the position to talk about the proposed report because they don't have the language or understanding of what those things even mean. So that stays with the land use committee, whether there's a rezoning or not.
All right. Ms. James?
Yeah, this is a board thing. It's not a rezoning committee thing. So anything any committee can do, like even last night I attended the housing committee to appeal to them, right? To get involved, right? So in anything that you can do, I mean, there's nothing you can do wrong, put it this way. I mean, absolutely nothing. So anything that any ideas this committee wants to do, trust me, it's more than welcome. It's okay.
So, I'm taking that to say that we need to do or try to develop some sort of a forum, get some city agencies to educate the community on the zoning language.
Absolutely, yes.
Language. We know in the last meeting, it was the language and the understanding of what the actual abbreviated terms mean that caused some confusion. I think that is a fair request to get that information in a more palatable form for parties that are interested. It's right that we do throw the terms around. We're more familiar than a common person of what the terms actually mean.
I do have to put on the record, more time was requested to be able to address it, and the time allocated at the board meeting did not permit the level of detail that I specifically requested. I was limited in the time given to me.
I understand that, but I think that even in an initial aspect, we should have some follow-up for people who are interested. I mean, the information is vast, and it wouldn't take much to just prepare the slides and just review packets or prepare packets to have that information distributed and spoken about in open forum. I think that we could figure something like that out. We have a couple of spaces that would be great for that, actually. But yeah, I'll reach out to some people to see what we could do, but then I'm going to need everybody's input on how we want that to look. If anybody's willing, Allison, you're JV, and that's just, I'm not really asking, I'm just saying. I'm going to need your help to try to coordinate to make sure that we make a nice informative thing with the zoning, and maybe even piggyback into the proposal, something that encompasses both. It just probably just makes the most sense at this time, possibly within the next few months, to do that before we get to the final stages, just so that everyone can see and understand what's being proposed currently. Hands. I don't know if hands stayed up or hands went down. Mr. Price, your hands up. Still up.
Yes, sir. Two things. One, to follow up on Ms. James's point, and Allison's point for that matter. When it comes to, I think outreach is something we do need to focus on. I do think it needs to be something offline. I think it would benefit us all maybe to just have a one pager. So just a one page outline of like, I don't know what it would necessarily, I'm not going to say exactly what it should entail, but I would argue it should probably involve what are these different terms, your basic who, what, where, when, why, how, right? So this is what the reason is. These are what these terms are, just something that in one page can visually be understood without a whole lot of extra explanation. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a paper flyer. It could be a digital flyer, but it's just something that people can see and kind of wrap their heads around all of this relatively quickly. as one idea of many as regards outreach on this issue. And the second thing I was going to say is, since Ms. Fields is here and she's the chair of the housing committee, I know that housing is, and I don't know if you guys have discussed this or not, I know housing's trying to do its own forum. And I don't know if there's some topics that maybe it would make sense for us to partner on as a committee.
Definitely sometimes there's overlap. We witnessed one last month, just speaking openly, Mr. Goodrich, Kirk Goodrich, attended the meeting. I don't know if anybody was aware that Monadoc has, come out in the front of the Vital Brooklyn to basically say that they're the ones that are developing it. And Mr. Goodrich, who's a resident of our community, decided that he was gonna, at our meeting, tell us that he's involved. I met Mr. Goodrich at Ms. Fields, at Chair Fields' housing meeting last fiscal, and I think I invited him to our meeting in June and in May, and he didn't attend. So, yeah, I agree with the one pager, something that's easy to grab, quickly referenced, and can define what the terms mean quickly. And the available information that's on the websites is also well too. That could possibly be done in addition to the one pager, because it gives visual representations of what it actually means. You may have seen some of the slides and and Chair James's presentation. It was cut short, but they've been included in several presentations for a long time. But being able to recognize and identify what the terms mean is very important. And we also need to, along with the education, show our residents how they can figure out what their zoning is, using sites like Zola and all of that to figure out what their properties are currently zoned, so they can understand how they're affected as well. I'm not diminishing that anybody in this room knows, but if you have the conversations that some people don't have an idea of where they are and where they stand. Sorry, Ms. Bakradine.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted to chime in here. There is a lot of great recommendations being put forward in terms of that one pager. I do want to recommend that you can reach out to Department of City Planning, because on their land use, they have a ULURP site that provides specific guidance about terminology, things to consider, et cetera, that you can potentially leverage to craft that one pager, because it's been found very helpful within different conversations that I've been having around the specific topics. I just wanted to make sure that I added a bit of insight there in the recommendation as you're developing it, the one pager, which they may even have, that you can leverage the content found on that site.
Thank you, Ms. Bakradine. Ms. Viglianti.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to also say, to piggyback on what Joan said, that I think that Ms. James was going to link the city planning to what we linking it to? The questionnaire thing that's going up for zoning, the survey, I'm sorry, my mind's not thinking. We're gonna link the city planning zoning to that, so that people can go into that also and get some understanding of all these terms and stuff. So I'm just wondering if Ms. James has done that yet.
Are you talking in regards to the website?
Yeah, can I respond?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna, I'm tired of hiding. I've been having a lot of pushback in terms of my access. It's been almost stressful in terms of improving the site. So I will bring it up at the executive committee meeting, and they're gonna have to decide, because I can't keep going back and forth like this. It's been very, so for example, a simple thing like, you know, what you talked about to be able to insert this, it's a whole rigmarole to do it. And it's very stressful. There are enhancements which could be made to make it simpler. And I have to get this person's approval. It has to be, it goes through such a, it's not been very easy and very comfortable. So to answer your question, I was not even something very basic and simple like that. I wasn't able to add it because I just didn't want to go through the nightmare of having to go through the channel of adding it onto the website. I'll bring it up on the executive committee and they can decide how we're going to proceed.
That's too bad. But I'm sorry to hear that.
Thanks.
All right, hearing no other questions, I guess we could close out. I guess, believe it or not, that was still the chairperson's report. Moving to unfinished business. This was misquoted. This was supposed, the 3002 Farragut Road application is going to be at our general board meeting. You know, they canceled in the last minute from last month's meeting, and that was moved to November. I think we need to really discuss that any further. We took a tentative vote. We discussed the crafting and the development of the letter in response, which will ultimately be the backbone for the letter of the community board's response. But this month, this application will be recognized at our general board meeting and voted on. Is there any other unfinished business? Seeing none, moving on to new business. Chair James.
Thank you very much. I received an email from Community Board 10 asking that we join in signing a letter addressed to the mayor asking for additional time to be able to review the City of Yes for economic opportunity. Is it needed? Absolutely. I haven't been able to even digest it as yet. And so the request, I would like to make a motion that CB17 join with the remaining 50 boards and sign a letter to the mayor requesting that additional time be permitted to be able to review the fine details of the City of Yes economic opportunity.
Motion is on the floor. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Motion has been moved and properly seconded. It's the time for discussion. For clarity, this was to extend the December 31st deadline for this year by 90 days, right? I believe that's all the details that we got from the correspondence.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is to extend for an additional 90 days to give us the opportunity to review the plan, which tacks on to what, Allison spoke about earlier. It gives us more of an opportunity to get more information out of how everyone's going to be affected. And yeah, I think we should join the other 59 boards. I think that was the number that was on the email, in trying to get this extension. But we're open for discussion. Does anybody have any additional questions in regards, Ms. Bakruddin?
Just for clarity, so it would be all 59 boards, so across the city? We're asking for this, so we will be joining with them, or are we joining with Community Board 10? I think that's the only clarity that I require.
Clarity is all boards. They're requesting for each board to show their support. It doesn't mean that all boards will agree, but the request is that all boards come together collectively and sign a letter requesting for additional time to review the plan.
Thank you.
Is that correct, Ms. James? I'm trying to pull it up.
Yes, Chair Frey. Yes.
So, all right. Any other discussion? So we move to, I guess I got to take a vote, right? Ms. Bennett?
I can ask a question after.
Excuse me?
I'll ask my question and at the vote.
So Ms. James, can you just restate the motion so that there's clarity on what exactly we're voting for, and then I'll go into the vote?
Sure, the motion is that we join with the other community boards in requesting that the mayor extend the period of review by 90 days for the City of Yes economic opportunity.
Adele Bennett? Ms. Bennett?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
I
Allison
vote
Martinez?
yes.
Yes.
Hazel Martinez?
Yes.
Marguerite Vidaglianti?
Yes.
Ann Hudson? Ms. Hudson?
Yes.
You? Julia Charles? I don't see you here. Yeah, I'm gonna acknowledge you now. Mr. Tate?
I'm not actually an official member of the committee.
Making sure. Oh, yeah.
You have been listed as a member?
I'm
Yes,
not sure.
Mhm.
Ms. Fraser actually put you in, or she just put you in a communication?
As a member, okay, then if that's the case, because I wasn't getting meeting invitations, so I vote yes.
Yeah, I'll get clarity on that.
Okay, so if I am a member, I vote yes.
Thank you. Mr. Erskine's not here. Mary Gallagher. Ree is excused. Mr. Dawes?
Yes.
Squashy? She here? Ms. Chair Fields?
Yes.
Bell Downs? Yolanda Aline, you on the phone? Possibly. Star 6. Therese. James. Samantha Sylvester, no Spence. Lilith Robinson?
Yeah.
Lewis. I don't see Chair Lewis. I don't see Chair Thomas. Ms. Page. Mackenzie. This is up, and this list will be getting filtered down this month because this is our third month. We'll finally be able to reduce any absentee membership. Ms. Bakradine?
Yes.
That's it. We honestly don't have quorum according to this letter at the time, but all the available members that voted are a yes. So I am going to take this as a consensus and move forward with yes, that the motion will pass, and we will have to join the letter, or at least I'll have to bring up in the executive meeting that our plan is to engage and join the letter. Ms. James, we would still need board vote for this, right?
Yes, I think so, yes. Mhm.
The land use committee stance will be in support of the letter. At the executive meeting, we'll put it as an action item to vote on for our general board meeting on the third Wednesday. Cool. Got some things to work on. New things. Any new business? Any other new business? Ms.
I'm not sure whose hand went up first, Adele or me. So Adele, I defer to you.
Okay, thank you. What I want to know is what's going to be on Rogers and Church, that monstrosity of a hole in the ground. That's nothing going on right now. And also Rogers and Erasmus. Heard there's a building going up there.
Rogers and Church, we pulled the permit prior. It's a 6-story development with the basement included. It didn't really say, I think it was mixed use residential, actually. That's me pulling it from memory. We discussed that last year.
Yeah.
That's what's proposed currently. The location. I mean, that's what they're permitted to build as of right. And it looks like they're going to whatever the maximum of whatever they're as of right zoning is allowing, you know?
Then
I'll try to get that information.
Yeah, I heard there's another building supposed to be going up on the corner of Rogers and Erasmus.
Rogers and Erasmus. I thought there was a development there already. Is there another
Yeah.
lot?
It's on the east side, but I'm talking about the west side. There's one going to be going up.
Okay. All right. Well, I have to drive over there to see it, but I'll follow up and see what's going on there. Unless you have the address. Do you have the address?
And I have to get the address for that. I was just talking to some of the people in the area, and they were surveying it. So I asked what they were doing, and they said they're going to be putting up a building there. I said, okay, another one's coming up.
I'm acknowledging your comment, Mr. Price. I have to review the list with Ms. Frazier. I know I sent you the application, so I'll acknowledge your vote. Sorry. Yeah, I'll follow up, Miss Bennett. I'll drive over there and see what's going on. There's a lot going on over there, though. There's even something going on Rogers and Beverly. That's quite large. But again, as of right, which is kind of odd because I thought that was all a commercial, but I guess that corner lot is something else. Ms. James, new business.
Yes, new business. I appreciate and understand the discussion earlier about reaching out to Community Board 14 with regard to the portion of the Sears property that is in Community Board 17. But the reality is that the developers move forward based on their discussions with the city council person, right? I happen to know that they reach out to the city persons. So I think it is, since time is of the essence, I did check Icarus. And I saw that on 1017, their developer across the street, whatever, they will put in the papers to the lot configuration, whatever is needed, in order to be able to apply for a permit. It actually specifically says so. If you go into the image on Acres, you'll see what they're saying, that is about getting the permits for it. If I may share my screen, may I share my screen,
Absolutely.
Mr. Chair? Thank you.
I want to add that I did notice that the tire shop in question was divided into 2 subsequent lots as well.
Okay.
So that's on the DOB website.
So if I am correct, and I may be wrong, the area over here may be the tire shop area, which is not an R6. So it means that it is not a matter of right for them to develop what they want. They're going to have to go through the EULA process. They're going to require the approval of the city council person. So I would like to make a motion this evening that we send a letter to the city council person expressing their desire that that lot be used for community purposes, whether it is for the green space, whether it's for part of all the projects that Allison mentioned, but that we need to let the city council person know ASAP that we want that space to be used for community purposes. Because if we don't do that very quickly, and approval is otherwise given, right, consent, it will be that much harder for us to be able to get that lot, to be able to do something.
Okay.
So that's a resolution on the table, motion on the table.
We got a motion on the table to draft a letter to a council person in regards to the potential use of a commercial property adjacent to the Sears lot. So do we have a second?
Second, Adele Bennett.
Your current plan in the upcoming year.
Properly seconded. Time for discussion. Do we have any discussion on the matter?
Oh, yes, who's the council member?
I think it's Rita Joseph.
Okay.
On point of correction, that particular portion I believe is in Farah Lewis's district. Am I correct, Allison? I'm not sure, but whoever it is.
I got a question.
I'm gonna ask Danny. I know you're unofficially here, but is that in your council person's district? Allowed to speak. I just noticed that he's in here. We'll figure it out. We'll figure out who's responsible and send a letter appropriately. But yeah, the lines were just recently redrawn. It very well could possibly be in Ms. Joseph's, depending on how the lines were drawn. I'm not sure. But we'll find out who it is and send a letter to the appropriate council member. Any other discussion?
I have a question. I'm a little ignorant in this area, so my question may seem odd to everybody, but the land that you're talking about, isn't it already owned by someone else? So we're gonna tell them how to build it, or how does that work? Like if they already had plans to a building or something, you want to like make a green space? Is that what you're saying?
Can I jump in here, Mr. Chair?
No, we're open for discussion. You may.
Yeah, I do happen to know that developers were attempting to do some development there. So the city does have some input in it. It's not very clear, but if for example, their intent is to put a permit up to put whatever it is, and we express to the city council person, whoever that may be, that no, we want it to be designated for whatever it was that Allison mentioned, whatever, we don't want the nature of it changed, then that would impact what they do with the property.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right, and just for clarity, this is if it falls outside of the confines of as of right. The request comes if they're as a proffer for them to know what's being asked prior to any BSA or URLAP application, right? We're going in with the understanding that should they decide to build something that falls within this C4, that they don't necessarily need to engage with us with that. But should they want to actually develop it into something else, we would have this in the atmosphere. Ms. Cochran.
I do require a bit of clarity for this as well. Is the letter in place of the meeting or conversation with the land use committee for Community Board 14, or is it in addition to?
It's in addition to. This is
Okay.
this falls outside of that. Communications with Community Board 14 will be more informational inquiry to see where they are, to see if they've been engaged by said developer, and to see how we're affected by it. And if in fact our parcel that falls in our district is included within the development, should it have been shared with them, then this letter now is to hopefully
To make sure that the elected official is clear on our position on this.
request. Yeah, we want a community workspace. We prefer a community workspace or a green space in lieu of additional development at that particular location, especially that there's 700 units across the street.
Okay. So
that
would it then be appropriate for it to be both elected then, Councilmember Lewis and Councilmember Joseph, or we're just going to figure out who it actually falls under and send it to that person?
I'm not opposed to sending it to whomever. I'll send it to both, unless anyone else has an opposition.
Thank you.
We got to make sure that we do send it to the appropriate one, whichever. But yeah, I can't see why the letter can't be drafted to both members and sent to both offices. You know.
Okay. Thank you
sure,
for clarifying.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to, join up and work on something. And hopefully we can get a positive response. But all right, discussion. Any other discussion? Oh, Allison.
I think I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. That's what I'm going to say on that.
It's fair.
Okay.
Let me just recuse, or are you going to abstain? Huh?
I don't want to abstain because it's a site that I might potentially, maybe I might want to do a community space there or something. So I don't think I should vote. So.
Fair enough. Thank you for the clarity. Ms. Bennett.
I was going to suggest that we send a letter to our side of the district, since we can't really affect anything much on the other side other than our opinion. But on our side, where the Sears tire shop is, yes,
No, that's what we're sending the letter for.
yes.
Yes, okay, yes.
So who is on CB17? Yes.
Hazel Martinez,
Yes.
good. Marguerite Viglianti. Ann Hudson,
Yes.
Dale Dawes. Yes. Julia James,
Yes, yes.
Lilith Robinson.
Yes.
Yes.
Perlene Fields.
Yes.
I'm going to take your vote, Mr. Tate.
Yes, yes.
And Mr. Price, PK Price. Mr. Price.
Yes, sorry.
John Bacardine.
Yes.
Thank you. Overwhelmingly yes. Again with the foreign thing. Feedback. Oh, Jenna Watson.
Abstain.
Thank you. So, Mr. Holland. Mr. Holland.
Yes.
Did you vote for the first one, Mr. Holland, or no?
No, I think you missed me.
Do you have a vote?
You know what? I don't remember what it was right now.
It's all right. It's all right. I just got
I think you said it passed, though.
It passed.
Yes, sir.
As long as we don't have major objections, the consensus to pass.
Yeah, no, I don't have any major objections to it, no.
So I would say that that's overwhelmingly yes in regards to that. So we have two letters. We're joining a letter in support of the extension. I'm just clarifying our business for the evening before we adjourn. We're joining a letter to join our support to extend the City of Yes, discovery period so that we could better inform the residents, ourselves, and any other community board that needs to be affected by it. We're joining in support of Community Board 10's letter for that extension, and we're going to draft another letter to council members, Ms. Joseph and Ms. Lewis, to express what we feel that particular parcel of land we know as the Sears Tire Shop. I think I put the address in the thing, 2339 or 2339 Bedford Avenue, to be used as a community space with suggestions that it be used as a green space or any other alternatives. Right, Mr. Tate?
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Lewis.
Yes, just
Mr. Chairman, this is Yolanda.
Oh, you are on the phone. Okay. All right.
Yes, and you didn't allow me to vote.
I did. I asked you. I called on you. I asked you to press.
And I said yes,
Oh,
but you
sorry.
didn't hear me.
I didn't hear you. Is it yes for both votes?
Yes.
All right, I got you.
Okay.
Mr. Tate?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I believe you mentioned the address is 2339, something like that. But it's
Yeah.
It's 2359.
59, yeah.
And 2360, right?
59.
I think the tire shop is 2360.
Yeah, it's two lots, which
Yeah.
we looked up. It looks like they separated them. They were probably together at one point, but they separated.
No, I think the 2360 is the tire shop on the other side. It's because the tire shop is on the other side of Bedford, on the west side of Bedford, on the east side of Bedford. And the actual building, the landlord building landmark building is on the west side of Bedford.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Thank you. Ms.
Right.
Bakri, is that all, Mr. Tate? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that was it. I just wanted to correct the address.
Yeah, I know. I posted it earlier. I just mixed up the numbers. Ms. Bakri?
Just to check in regarding the second letter, that it will also join the first letter in having to be approved by the board.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ms. Lawrence?
Hi, good night. I didn't get to vote, but my vote is yes.
Okay. You are on a list that I had, Ms. Lawrence. Is this your first meeting?
No, we went through this the last meeting that I applied since, when was it? Last year? And I've been getting the emails since last year, and I've been on other meetings, and then I was told to send the email to Ms. Barton from before. So I'm not too sure at this point.
We'll clear it up. I got both votes now, and I'll get it cleared up. Again, we'll be revising. There's too many names. Too many names for individuals that are in here. But thank you. Thank you for the clarity. And any other new business? Seeing none? Anybody want to move for adjournment?
Joan Alexander Bakardine moves to adjourn the meeting.
We have a
I
second.
second the motion, Marguerite.
Moved and properly seconded. Everyone have a nice holiday. We won't see each other until after Thanksgiving.
Thanks to you too and to everyone.
Take care, and you'll see
Thank you.
Thank
you'll
you.
see the drafts of responses come out in some form, emails and all of that. We'll get it. We'll get it down pack. As usual.
Indeed. To
And
all
please,
stay well.
and
Happy
make
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Have a happy Thanksgiving,
Good
everyone.
night, everyone.
Please don't forget to vote. Please don't forget to vote. Whomever you vote for, just please do it.
Keep
and make
safe.
best
Keep
efforts
safe.
if you can to
Done.
come to the next meeting so that we have our voices and with the 3002 Farragut Road application. That's going to be at the general board meeting, or should be on the agenda next month. So if you have the time, that would be the time to join a meeting for some business that we have on the table.
Is that going to be a virtual meeting?
It's both virtual and hybrid.
Oh, okay.
It's a hybrid meeting.
A hybrid.
When is the meeting, Chair? What's the date of the meeting?
The 15th.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Holland, yes.
Yeah,
The meeting is adjourned also, everybody. So I'm just hanging
it's
around.
adjourned. Yeah, it's adjourned, right? I know. No, but could you double check? Because I know it was about 3 or 4 people who said they had voted. Afterwards, I was wondering if include those 4 people, do you still have a quorum? Would you have a quorum?
Nah,
You don't.
nah, it would need to be in 25 names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a long list.
Yeah, I was keeping count.
Yeah.
count. We hope
Okay.
next
Have a
month,
good
hopefully,
night.
have more. Next month I'm able to filter the list down, and hopefully we'll have a more reachable quorum. That's more realistic. A lot of people signed up, but they haven't been showing up. So,
Okay. Have a blessed evening, everyone.
good night.
You too. Bye.